Welcome to the Purple Positivity Podcast for August the 8th, 2018. Yay, it's 8-8. I am your host, the amazingly adorable and all too obsessed with numbers, Rebecca Thistle, podcasting to you live-ish from my new used desk in my apartment, which I call Jeffrey Thistlework. Yes. So, I'm running like an hour late. So this is going to be a really short show. I was re-listening to Voice in My Head, a special from Christopher Titus, and he says, one of the reasons that I love Christopher Titus is he is so absolutely hilarious, but he's hilarious in a thought-provoking way. And he says, in this special at one point, he says, sometimes future will drive you onto your, sometimes failure will drive you onto your future because you set the past on fire. And I was talking to All Caps someone about that last night. That, sometimes you have to fail up. There's another quote, I forget who it's from, but I want to say Winston Churchill or Oprah Winfrey, but I could be very wrong, so please, nobody get mad at me if I've got that wrong. But it says something of, success is going from one failure to another without losing enthusiasm. And I was talking to All Caps someone the other day, and we were talking about fears. And he said, I think my only fear right now is that of failure. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, that's my biggest fear too, actually. But, sometimes I have to tell myself that a fear of failure is simply actually a fear of success. Because if you're afraid to fail, you're also afraid to succeed. If you hold yourself back because you don't want to fail, then you've also held yourself back because you don't want to succeed. It goes both ways, and that's a terrifying thought. But my friend Allie, when we were 15 years old, we went to this sort of like basketball training camp sort of thing, and she and I were talking about this years later. She goes, I remember you, like that was the first time, and she's known me since we were 3. She said that was the first time I'd ever seen you panic because you were legitimately afraid to fail. And I hadn't really noticed that. But as I thought back on it, I was like, yeah, I was legitimately afraid to fail. But by that same token, I was also legitimately afraid to succeed. But you know what? Every little failure that I have, every mistake that I've made, it's pushing me in the right direction. I don't know what that direction is. I don't know how I'm going to get there. I don't know when I'm going to get there. I keep telling All Caps someone, I'm looking for the nice lady in the bathrobe that's holding the door open so I can get out. And he always laughs because, he goes, well, that's one way of putting it. Even though he should know. I talked about this metaphor on this show, and I'm too tired and too rushed to get into that. But failure drives you forward. And maybe it's not going to drive you to success by societal conventions. Maybe your success will not be of a similar vein of like Beyonce or whatever. Maybe you're not going to be a rock star. Maybe you're not going to be an actor. Maybe you're not going to be a celebrity. That's their version of success, and that is success that society has deemed acceptable. Like, yes, this is success, rich and famous, and you have a lot of shit. And to me, success is stability. Success is leaving something positive in this world. And I don't have to be rich and famous in order for me to be successful. You know what I mean? I am so easily winded these days. But I think that's the interesting thing is, like Christopher Titus, going back to Titus, he had that sitcom back in the early noughties, the way, way early noughties. He had that sitcom on Fox and it got canceled. And to me, he's been more successful since that cancellation than he was at the time. Because at the time, and I mean, I wasn't necessarily old enough to appreciate the full extent of what, I don't even remember seeing the show or anything like that. I was too young to appreciate it. But I tell you what, he comes up on my comedy channels all the time. And, on Pandora, I was talking about him to All Caps Someone, and he goes, oh yeah, he comes up on my comedy channels too. And I was like, yes, listen to him. And so many people in my life have never even heard of him. But to me, he's successful. Because he's doing it his way. Pause. Long pause. He's doing it his way. He's saying things that a lot of people are afraid to say. He's saying things that make you think. He's saying, like, I listen to his podcast every week. I was listening he posts them on Fridays. And I didn't get around to listening to this last one until Monday. And so I was listening at work. And like he said some stuff in that podcast, like my jaw dropped and literally hit the floor. Well, okay, maybe not literally. Metaphorically, figuratively hit the floor. I was just like, whoa, and I was telling All Caps Someone that day at lunch break, I said, this is why I love Titus, is because he can say some things that are very thought-provoking and like have my jaw on the floor, and then he'll say some things that make me laugh because they're very intelligent and hilarious, and the next thing you know, he's making fart jokes, and I love it. And to me, that's success. He's got a podcast that people actually listen to. He's got an affiliation or sponsorship or whatever with Harry's razors, and he's about to put on a new special that I think he not only did he write it and perform it, obviously, but I think he funded it himself. And or through crowdsourcing means, I don't fully know, because I sort of like lost track of him for a while, because I was off in my own little world of whatever. But to me, that's success. Now, by the conventions of other comedians that have come before him, that's nothing. That's nothing, but to me, that's everything. Is that he's making people laugh, he's making people think, and he's doing it on his own, beholden to no one except himself. And I think that's fucking awesome. But it took a lot of failing for him to get there. And he's probably gonna fuck up along the way. Actually, at the beginning of Voice in My Head, he starts it off almost like a sermon or something. It's like the Church of the Epic Fail. But he does this whole like litany of things, and he says, my two favorite things that he says, I am the shaman of shitstorms. And then the other thing is, if there were a fuck up pope, I would have a 3-foot hat. So he's due for an epic fail, probably any day now. But that's the thing, is he learns from those failures. And he lets those failures drive him forward into the future rather than hold him back. And I like that attitude. And that's the kind of life that I want to live. And I was talking to all cap someone about this last night, and I said, I have failed, and I started like listing off all my perceived failures, and I said, I've sacrificed all these pieces of myself. Like that's my big failure, is sacrificing so much of myself to survive, to please other people, that one day I woke up and I did not know who I was. I mean, that's happened on more than one occasion, but I didn't know who I was. And but that's my big failure, is leaving behind so many parts of myself to please other people. And I'm getting some of those parts back. And I said to all caps someone, I said, look, I am by no means the person that I want to be. I'm by no means in the place where I want to be. I am by no means successful, but I'm on my way. It's a journey. It's not a destination. So that's one way of looking at failure. It's going to drive you forward. Yeah, it's going to burn your ass. It's going to hurt like hell. But you know what? Just learn your lesson and move forward. And let the past burn down behind you. So, let's get into what I'm grateful for today. Obviously, number one is I'm grateful for my failures. I'm grateful for the lessons that I've learned because of those failures. And I'm grateful that I'm going to continue to learn lessons and fail. I am grateful for my coworker Rita. Long story short, I'm on the verge of being like completely 100% broke. I'm not even joking about that. That's actually really sad. But I'm on the verge of being broke. And she went and she bought me a couple of loaves of bread, because we have this gas station in Texas and New Mexico, and I think